the early years. So I would also say that out of those 52 kids, 18 of those kids had to, they needed supplemental funds for that. We provided 18 children assistance, financial assistance, to be able to participate in that program. So that we've started to see an increase in that as well. So we've been able to do that based on the grant money that we do get from social services. So they have helped us in that area to provide some services for those children. As I stated, the Don community, I did start out at the meeting with them. The church, we were going to have this site at the church down in the Don community, Second Mount Zion Church to be exact. I met with the parishioners, some of the parishioners down there, as well as the pastor, and we just never been able to get that program off the ground. It's been the second year that we have pursued that, but it just has not come to fruition. So that's where we are right now. But as far as the program, the parents have the feedback that we've gotten back. They like the way it's going. They like the changes and all that, and it's just that we just have not been able to capture the numbers that we've had before. So.
Well, Mr. Howard, thank you for the report, and this kind of follow up to the discussion we had a couple of years ago when we were going to stop the program, and you came last year and talked about it. So this is a follow up to that, just to kind of let the board know. The status of the program and who's been participating and things we're trying to do. So any questions of Mr. Howard at this time?
Mr. Howard, you say we increased the pricing from what to what for the summer program?
The price went from $100 to $250.
Okay. And I know you said that the program didn't take hold in the Dawn area. What actions are we taking to, again, go out and solicit a campaign to get more people involved and really drive home that these kids need to be participating and that there is a program that they can participate in?
Well, I had several meetings prior to the advertisement of the summer camp program. I went down in the community on several different occasions, and spearheaded the program, try to provide them, get them information, tell them what's needed. The problem is I'm not getting folks to even come to the department or even call about the program. Social services also, they try to make the folks aware of it, and they're not contacting or anything to gain access to the program. And then a lot of times it's waiting almost to the last minute before we have to make a decision whether to offer it or not, because we have to put personnel in place in order to run the program.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one comment. With that increase from $100 to $250, that certainly is a strain on some families. And I mean, we sit here and we gave bonuses and pay raises in some places. I just think we need to make sure we're taking care of the children. And if there's a need for additional funds, Mr. Howard, I want you to come back to us and say, this is what we need to do to help your program be viable for children. I think we need to take care of children. That's our future. We need to make sure that we're giving them every opportunity to be successful. And certainly I think I know the summer program's a good program. So we need to do everything that we can to get more children involved. So I would say that this board, we need to do all that we can to make sure there's funding available so that we can help those children.
Mr. Howard, have we been fairly successful in partnering with some of the private locations around the area to kind of supplement our programs? Have been pretty successful.
And in other areas within the county to offer the program?
Yeah.
Is that what you have?
Yeah.
No, I have been pursuing the Port Royal district.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I spoke to someone today about the possibility on Upper Carolina. The problem has been facilities, finding adequate facilities to host a program, and not just a program, but just even take other programs into those areas. But that has been something that I've done regularly this year as well, just to approach some of the folks on that. I've been out and I've talked to folks at the firehouses and so forth and try to gain access to those places in some of those other communities.
I think a couple of years ago we discussed maybe soliciting some of the recreational facilities from private vendors and things like that at maybe an additional cost if we could get the increase in the children's participation. I think that that's something we still need to pursue if we can get the participation up, because I think that might entice some folks to come, even if there is a slight additional cost to it. That's all I had. But thank you, Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Popowitz. Ms. Seeley?
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Akers.
Mr. Howard, we've said that the reason the drop has been because of the increase in cost from the $100 that was charged versus the $250 that's now being charged. I guess my question to you is that factual? Is that from surveys that you've conducted, or is it just in your mind that $150 increase would cause families to not participate? And the reason I ask that is because several years ago when I made the statement before, I had a number of parents to come to me, and they were concerned about the structure of the programs. They were not programs that would keep their young people involved, if you will. They may sign up and only attend half the time, the summer. And so I just thought it was important that we really make sure that the programs that we offer in these day camps are structured programs and ones that the children are going to be interested in and are going to participate in. The second question that I would have of you is, last year in Ladysmith, I think there was probably 50 or so young people that participated in the program. And this year, I think you said it was 34.
That is correct.
Have we checked with those? Did we check with those parents of the 14 people or 18 people that did not participate this year to find out why they didn't participate? Have they moved out of the county? Or have they found another program that's more suitable to what they want to do? I do believe to make our programs successful and to build on our programs, we need to find out what the people and what the parents and what the young people want in the programs. I don't believe it's something that we should just say, hey, this is my idea, I believe it's going to be good for the young people, and we put the program in place. I think it's important that we do try to find out why they're not participating, and it all may be contributed to the $150 increase. I don't know, but I think we need to find out. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Howard, if you could, regarding Mr. Akers' suggestion, if we could do a little more investigation, see what folks thought about the program, thought the reason they didn't participate. And I'm going to give you one tip, at least from my perspective, is in relation to what Mr. Underwood said. It's you are never, or any county employee is never going to be penalized for their passion or coming to the board and saying we need more money for this particular program. Mr. Parton does that on a regular basis. He's actually going to do it later on today. So, don't have any fear of coming back and saying we need, in regard to Mr. Underwood, we need to keep this program at $100 or $150, whatever it is. It's going to cost the county X amount of dollars more. Now, we may say no, but I need you to come back and say, with all the passion you have, this is what we need to do to make this program successful. So consider that, factor in the things that Mr. Akers asked for, what we can do to make the program better. I think he said, if my memory serves me correctly, I think he said it was just a daycare program in some cases, and we need to make it, productive, healthy, and I know the kids don't want to hear it, but educational too. So, whatever you need, come back and ask us. If we can, we'll try to give it to you. If we can't, we'll work something out. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you for your time, sir. We appreciate it. And we're going to move on to agenda item number 2, which is appointments. And I'll skip to the bottom first. We have 2 appointments for the Planning Commission that will expire next month. One is for the Madison District. Mr. Davis is your representative now. His term will expire October 31st. And in the Port Royal District, Mr. Joseph Brown is your representative. His term will expire October 31st. Mr. Parton puts these on the agenda usually to give us at least a month in advance to check, and I don't know if you'd like to have those people contacted again, or if you'd like to make someone new, but that's your choice.
Mr. Chairman, I've already talked with Mr. Davis, and I certainly am happy with Mr. Davis's service to the people of the Madison District, and I would like, I'll make a motion to reappoint Mr. Walter Pete Davis, effective November 1st.
That would be in order. Is there a second?
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Akers, seconded by Mr. Underwood, that Mr. Davis would be reappointed to the Madison District Planning Commission. Discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Popowitz, you have the same privileges. If you'd like to contact Mr. Brown now or ask staff to contact him,
I'll have an answer for this board at the next board meeting, sir.
that'd be fine. Okay, and we only meet once in October.
Yes.
So, okay. All righty, we have back to the Recreation Advisory Committee on the heels of Mr. Howard. That's probably good. Mr. Seeley, you have Mr. Goforth, whose term expired in June.
I have a new member, Mr. Chairman. Her name is Whitney Watts.
Whitney Watts. Okay. And your motion is to appoint Whitney Watts to the Recreational Advisory for the Bowling Green District?
Yes, sir.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Akers. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously. And then we still have the at-large member. And Mr. Underwood and Mr. Akers were working that out.
I have two. Let me take.
I'll take it. If you've got
Lorenzo's,
two, I'll take this one.
I have two.
Okay. I'll
Lorenzo's and Nicole's. I have two people.
Okay.
And you had one.
Yeah, I have one. So, yeah, I will,
All right.
I have somebody in mind. He was here, but I see he's left. So I'd like to talk to him to make absolutely sure that he's interested in serving. But I will have it at the next board meeting. I promise.
You're not talking about it.
Yes, sir.
It's your last chance between the two of y'all. If not, one of the other three will take one.
Right.
Okay.
It'll be fine.
We'll all have somebody ready to.
Okay.
All right, because we've worked on that, and I don't want Mr. Howard to work at a disadvantage. Those are the only appointments we had. So we can move on to agenda item number 3, which was consent agenda. Agenda item 3A we removed, which was the minutes. We've got warrants. We've got planning commission action. I'm reading this because there's a couple of things that are fairly important, like the adoption of a resolution declaring October 9th through October 15th, 2011 as Fire Prevention Week. I imagine Mr. Garnett's going to have a big effort for that. And then we have a request for the use of the courthouse lawn for an auction to raise funds for the historic county jail from Citizens for Historic Preservation, approval of certification for urban development, authorization to submit a Caroline County Victim Witness Assistance Program VSTOP grant, and the approval of contract with Troy and Banks for utility telecommunication invoice auditing services. Anything the board would like to have removed from the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda B through H as presented.
Second.
Motion to approve B through H as presented made by Mr. Seeley, made by Mr. Akers, seconded by Mr. Seeley. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Yeah, I don't see anything. Okay. We have, next scheduled is 7:30 public comments. I probably can't squeeze anything in, so we will be back at 7:30. Okay, so we're going to come back at 7:30. We'll adjourn now. Mr. Fincham, as we go, would you check? There was some question about Belmont. You already discussed it, so you can give me an update on the break. Okay, we'll stand adjourned until 7:30. Okay, we have reached the public comment section of our agenda. And at this point, anyone who would like to speak to the board regarding a matter that is not scheduled for public hearing tonight may do so. Those who would like to speak during the public hearings about the public hearing for the zoning ordinance, the public hearing for third generation quarrels, or the public hearing for Mr. Thompson, If you will wait till those public hearings start, then you'll have a chance to speak. But at this point in time, we will offer the podium to anyone who would like to speak to the board on any matter that's not a public hearing. If you'd like to do so at this time, please make your way down. Mrs. Carter?
Good evening. I just want to bring one thing to your attention. They're coming into Meadow Event Park, probably going to have the largest fair we've ever had. We're going to be working about 400 vendors, and we started yesterday, and they will open at 5 o'clock on Thursday. I think this is going to be a very successful fair, and encourage all the citizens of Caroline to at least go and see what's right here under their nose.
Thank you, Mrs. Carter. And we appreciate all the work you and your staff have done to make sure that the county receives the appropriate revenue from the state fair. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the board regarding any matter? That was quite serious. Is there anyone who would like to speak to the board regarding any matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak to the board regarding any matter? Okay, hearing none or no others, we will declare the public comment section to be closed. Mr. Fincham, I believe it's time for you. Is that text amendment 02-2011, the Highway Corridor Overlay District? Agenda item number 4.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, your first public hearing tonight is TXT 02-2011, which is an amendment to the zoning ordinance to repeal and replace Article 15, Section 15, which are the Highway Corridor Overlay District regulations. These amendments were actually discussed with the board previously, and the board forwarded the proposed amendments for public hearing at tonight's meeting. The purpose of the amendments is, as I stated at previous meetings, as the county has initiated and completed its sub-area planning processes, the highway corridor development regulations have been an important aspect in implementing the various community and sub-area plans, both in terms of access management, development regulations, and design standards. Over the years, we have recognized that some of the regulations needed to be tweaked a little bit, and standards that were perhaps appropriate in the village center were not appropriate around the interchanges. The proposed regulations would differentiate and establishes different development standards for your commercial service corridors around the interstate interchanges versus the rest of the road network within the community. Excuse me. The Planning Commission worked several months on these proposed amendments, and we believe that the amendments better reflect the business needs of the village centers versus the interstate interchanges. And the Planning Commission forwarded these recommendations with a recommendation of approval unanimously. And with that, I'll address any questions that the board may have.
Board members have any questions of Mr. Fincham at this time? Thank you, Mr. Fincham. We will, no questions? Okay, we will declare the public hearing to be open for text amendment 02-2011, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of Caroline County by repealing and replacing Article 15, Supplemental Regulations, Section 15, to be open. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is declared closed. Board members at this time have any questions of Mr. Fincham or comments they'd like to make? Questions? Comments? Motion would be in order.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve TXT 02-2011, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of Caroline County by repealing and replacing Article 15.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Akers, seconded by Mr. Popowitz. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Fincham, agenda item number 5, rezoning 02-2011, third generation LP, owner Quarles Petroleum Incorporated is the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, your next public hearing is RZ 02-2011, third generation LP owner, Quarles Petroleum Incorporated applicant. They're requesting an amendment to proffers on B1 zoning associated with a previously approved rezoning, which was RZ 10-207. The applicant is requesting an amendment to proffers that were previously approved for RZ 10-207 that was actually approved by the board in November of 2008. At that time, property which had been zoned rural preservation was zoned B1 business. At the time, it was anticipated that the property would be developed as one entire parcel. Based upon recent market conditions, as well as interests at the site by individual applicants, the owner of the property approached the county about amending the proffers previously approved by the Board of Supervisors. Staff has worked with the applicant to identify issues specific to developers that are currently looking at the site, and in fact, several of the HCOD amendments were developed in concert with our review of this development application. The original zoning spoke to the development of that property as one entire project or one entire site. And under the proposed proffers, there could be up to 3 separate lots or 3 separate sites that could be developed on this property, although they would be subject to the same uniform development standards for the entire site. The Planning Commission has reviewed this application and voted to forward this request to the board with a recommendation of approval, and that vote was unanimous. And with that, I'll address any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Mr. Fincham. Board members at this time have any questions of Mr. Fincham? Mr. Akers.
Mr. Fincham, the 3 individual lots that will be created instead of the one single development lot.
Yes, sir.
They still basically have the same requirements as far as the road configurations, as well as egress and egress, and as far as the development of the buildings themselves.
Yes, sir. The architectural standards would remain uniform throughout all 3 lots. The road improvements would be phased commensurate with the development of the lot instead of all the improvements having to be completed at one time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Akers. Mr. Fincham, I think that's it, and the applicant is here. Okay. All right, if there are no further questions, we will declare the public hearing open, and the applicant will be allowed an opportunity to speak if you would like. You don't have to, but if you'd like, that's fine. We'll now declare the public hearing for RZ 02-2011 third generation LP owner Quarles Petroleum to be opened. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak? Hearing none, we'll declare the public hearing to be closed. Additional discussion. Board members have any discussion? Questions?
I just have one question.
Questions, Mr. Seeley?
And I guess my only question is that in a phased development like this with 3 buildings, the ability to load and unload via large tractor trailers as they come in, has that been looked at as how that would be facilitated as this phased-in approach takes place?
Yes, sir. The initial phase, which is actually at the intersection of Allen Street and Ladysmith Road, provisions have been made in reviewing the preliminary site plan to ensure not only parking is adequately addressed, but the loading provisions of the ordinance are addressed as well.
That seems to be one of the biggest issues that I've seen, at least around, is they come in to unload in the middle, because the schedule's different for every company, and everybody parked, and here's a truck trying to go past everybody's parked vehicle.
Yes, sir. The designation of a loading space on the site plan does not necessarily mean that they'll use that loading space. You're right, they tend to have their own schedule, but there is adequate provisions for ingress, egress, turnaround to make sure that vehicles can get in and out of sight.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Quarles, you want to give me a little insight into why you want to do this? Just an additional, and let me give you a little insight into my thought process. Is usually once we do a rezoning, there are proffers associated with it. I consider that a cast in concrete, and that's basically the deal we made, and that's the deal we stick to. But now you're asking us to change the deal we made and the deal we're supposed to stick to, so I just wanted to give you an opportunity to say why you'd like to do that.
I understand. To say that the market conditions are poor would be a gross overstatement. They're abysmal. And we're grateful to have...
Oh, can you step a little closer to the mic just to make sure that everybody else can hear you?
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
And we're grateful to have, frankly, any additional development and jobs in Ladysmith. And we're just really happy that they happen to desire to be on our property. So we're trying to do what we can to accommodate these people within our own ability to pay for it.
That's all I needed. Thank you very much, sir. Any other discussion? Madison District, Mr. Akers, you have an opinion, discussion?
Yes, I don't have a question. I certainly support this request. There is a business that's certainly looking at that property, and I think that making this change will help bring that about. As was said, the economy in today's climate is not the best, and we need to try to work with what we have. The issues that I think that we should have looked at, and I think we have looked at, is number one, are we still maintaining the integrity of what we had said we were going to do in 2008 and what they said they were going to do in 2008? And if you look at the packet, the integrity stays there. The road system is in place. The building architectural designs are still in place. All of those things are still there. It's just a matter of, rather than having to build the entire piece of property out, they will now do it in 3 different phases. And to me, I think that makes sense, and I support those. And having said that, I make a motion that we approve RZ 2011, third generation LP owner, Quarles Petroleum Incorporated applicant, requesting a rezoning from B1 business, conditional, no specified density, consisting of 5.6 acres, more or less, to B1 business conditional.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Akers, seconded by Mr. Popowitz. Discussion on the motion. My discussion, Mr. Quarles, is again, when we do proffers, we consider it a deal, and that's the deal we try to stick to. We understand there are, in this particular case, as there are in all cases, some extenuating circumstances. So we're looking at those, and we're probably going to vote accordingly. So if there's no other discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Fincham, can I see you for a quick second before we go to public hearing number 6? I'll come to you. Okay, Mr. Fincham, agenda item number 6,